10 things for all women to remember. I've seen a lot of these types of rules for women all over social media and decided to write a response to this one. I understand women are much more sensitive and they don't ever want to be sad, and the world should be full of rainbows and teddy bears, but it's getting to a point now where things don't even have to make sense anymore. They will literally tell each other anything as long as it makes them feel good, and it's the most positive way of interpreting any feature of themselves or the world around them. Without further ado. Number 1. Everyone has rolls when they bend over. Not actually true, but I don't really take any issue with this. I think it's probably fair to try and remove the stigma of a little bit of extra skin when you move, bend, etc. Number 2. When someone tells you that you're beautiful, believe them. They aren't lying. Okay, here's where it starts to go wrong. This would be more acceptable if it said, when someone tells you that you're beautiful, accept it, embrace it. Believe them? Yeah, kinda. They aren't lying? That's nonsense. How can you make a blanket statement that no one is ever lying to you when they say this? Because it's the most positive way to interpret it? Sure, but it makes no sense. There are lots of reasons for both men and women to lie to a woman and call her beautiful when she isn't, or they don't really believe that she is. In fact, women have told me on numerous occasions that when a woman compliments another woman, it can mean like 6 different things. She's jealous, she's putting you down, the opposite is actually true, she's putting on an act for other people watching, it's actually true, and so on. A stranger concept as this may be, perhaps try to derive your self-worth from more than whether you're beautiful or not, and the possibility of not being beautiful won't be so horrific and world-shattering. Crazy, I know. Not every person is beautiful. Deal with it. Number 3. Sometimes we all wake up with breath that could kill a goat. Agreed. Number 4. For every woman unhappy with her stretch marks is another woman who wishes she had them. Again, a strong point in the sense that there are some women who can't have children that would happily take stretch marks to have them. I personally don't think stretch marks are especially unattractive or attractive. They're just neutral to me. I think stretch marks are a bigger deal to women than they are to men, but it's still a valid point and I support it being said. Number 5. You should definitely have more confidence, and if you saw yourself the way others see you, you would. Not quite. I'm sure there are women who are very good looking and all-round attractive who don't see themselves that way. But there's also no shortage of women who are very unattractive and have convinced themselves that they are, probably partly down to lists like this. Again, this point on the list could be valid in a one-to-one discussion in a specific context, but it falls apart and loses all credibility as a blanket statement to all women. No. Number 6. Don't look for a man to save you. Be able to save yourself. It depends what you mean by save, really. It's a little dramatic, isn't it? In some scenarios, you should look for a man to save you, and most independent women would too. Let's assume the writer means don't look for a relationship with a man to make you happy. Whilst I slightly agree with this, I do believe this advice could very feasibly become detrimental to a woman's happiness. Constantly telling a woman that she don't need no man will likely cause her to belittle and overlook the potential benefits that a relationship with a man may bring, and ultimately end up lonely and angry, more jaded and determined than ever to make men regret not being willing to deal with her making them feel superfluous. Number 7. It's okay to not love every part of your body, but you should. I suppose, but not really. This isn't that bad in the context of this list, so I'll leave it be. Number 8. We all have that one friend who seems to have it all together. That woman with a seemingly perfect life. Well, you might be that woman to someone else. Possibly. I might be the most incredibly attractive man in the world to some women, so I guess I should allow myself to feel really great about myself based on an unlikely, hypothetical subjective. Number 9. You should be a priority, not an option, a last resort, or a backup plan. This point is a bit like feminism as a whole. It's a great idea in theory and makes perfect sense, but in reality it's a hideous mess that does more damage than good. In theory, yes, we imagine a good woman who is maybe putting a lot of importance on a man and he isn't reciprocating fairly and it's affecting her. We want to tell her to value herself higher. That's great. I would too. In reality, we have a lot of women who are entitled little princesses demanding to be a priority, while they bring nothing to the table but tits, a vagina, and a god-awful attitude. On a more subtle level, this again adds to the distancing of reality from real life and how it works. Of course, it would be lovely if everyone was everyone's first choice all the time, but it's not like that. I doubt all women would treat all men this way by default, and yet they would like to be treated this way themselves. Women admit that as they push into their 30s and towards their 40s, they are more likely to settle for a man that they wouldn't have had an interest in 10 years ago. What about that man? Someone needs to tell him right away that he should be a priority and not a backup plan. And finally, number 10. You're a woman. That alone makes you pretty damn remarkable. This is probably the stupidest point in this whole list, making the least sense. There is nothing inherently special about being a woman. In terms of achievement, there isn't anything lower that you did less to accomplish than your birth and your sex. It's as much of an achievement as being born with brown hair. It's like on dating profiles when people say, "I'm me," like that's some kind of achievement. Again, happening to remain in a state of still being you for as long as you exist is literally the least effort you could ever exert into anything. On a wider note, all forms of pride over arbitrary identifications make no sense to me. Proud to be a woman, an American, gay. For me, pride should be over the things we've accomplished through effort, will, and force, or natural talents we have. Proud to be a naturally gifted writer. Well, you didn't do much to earn that either, but it is something that differentiates you from the exceeding majority. Proud to have climbed Mount Everest or learned a new skill. Yeah, that's much better. A genuine and valid source of pride, as far as I'm concerned. Once again, being a woman does not make you remarkable by default. We should stop telling them that it does.